the last memory that I have, absolutely last memory that I have of my dad, gave me that R1. That was the last memory that I have of my dad. I don't even remember his face.
Sure.
I don't remember his voice.
Welcome to the Safe Space Chats podcast with Madam Speaker. Hi, my name is Vincent Maribatsi, also known as Madam Speaker, also known as the CEO of Self-Love. On this podcast, we are creating a safe space for ourselves through heart-to-heart conversations, encouraging others to do the same. Just because we don't believe in the same things, we don't like the same things, we're not interested in the same things, it does not mean that we cannot coexist. So this is a safe space for you to exist even when you are different and unique. Welcome to the Safe Space Chats podcast with Madam Speaker. My name is Vincent Maribatsi, also known as Madam Speaker, also known as the CEO of Self-Love. Bazalwane, once again, we are not going alone. We can never ever go alone. We have a special guest today, and I'm going to allow my guest to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself. Hi, my brother.
Hello, Madam Speaker. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All right.
Introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, thank you very much for welcoming me. My name is Vincent Maribatsi. So I'm hailing all the way from the northwest in a small township called Letlhabile. But currently I'm based in Johannesburg. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay. So how was it like growing up in Letlhabile?
Personally, it's been hard, to be honest. It's been one of those journeys that when I look back, I feel like I have overcome so much.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that I have achieved as much as I wanted to. I just believe that I could have done so much more. But it was okay. Yes, it was hard. Looking back, that's why I'm saying that I believe that, it was quite overwhelming. And I'm glad that I made it, because there are some boy kids out there that are currently struggling with a similar situation that I have to that I had to undergo, and I believe that, and I'm hoping that this conversation will be able to help those boy children.
Yeah, there's always this saying that says we are not where we want to be, but we're definitely not where we used to be, right?
Definitely.
And we should always be grateful for where we are, even though it's not where we want to be.
Yes.
So if I can just take you all the way back to your upbringing and the hardships of it, what are those highlights for you which, you feel like, okay, this really stands out for me?
Yeah, it's a, yeah, look, it was tough. It became very tough when my dad and my mom divorced, right? And we had to live in a one shack room. So it was just me, my mom, and my older sister. And life was very hard. And I know that some people might say, that was nothing, based on the content and maybe the context. But, living with, two women and you living in a room that you're just sharing, and you living on the floor. I didn't have a pillow, and going to school, sometimes I had to wear two shoes that were not the same, because life was just hard.
Yeah.
And food-wise, I mean, just imagine taking iskaftini, sharing it with your sister, and it was just pap and cabbage for 7 days.
Sure.
So it was rough. And every time I think about it and I internalize it, like I feel like, I know some people, that's what I'm saying, some people might think,
it's
loya
nothing.
dala.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about? We've been through, hell. And this is my story and I want to own it. And I feel like where I come from, I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Sure.
It was really, really rough. And I also feel that because my biological father was there and he was staying about less than a kilometer from my school, and he didn't lift a finger to try and say, my boy, I know you're going through, such. It was almost as if his intention was to punish
Sure.
my mother through me.
Sure.
Look, it was tough. It
Okay, before we get to the divorce and how tough it was, how was the home set up with your mom and your dad and your sister before they got divorced?
from the little that I can remember, because they divorced when I was a little over 6. I think I was 6.
Yeah.
And what I saw then, I think we were okay.
Yeah.
But obviously the things that occurred during or what led to the divorce were unsavory. And it's things that we pretty much experience and see even today,
Sure.
the domestic violence.
Okay.
And that is what led to the divorce itself.
Yeah.
And even when it happened, my dad was still there, but like I said, he didn't care.
Yeah.
He stayed closer to the school. He was still around, but he still didn't care. So at the time, I didn't feel the neglect as such, but the hardships, would remind me that I need a father.
Sure.
And even if it's not about the monetary stuff,
Sure.
but as long as he was there, he would be able to help me deal with the bullies at school. Sure. He would be able to give me some sort of advice about certain things. At least he would be there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he wasn't. And I realized throughout my upbringing as a teenager that I really needed him because I needed guidance, right? Later in life, I had a stepfather who was wonderful, who did as much as he could, but these are the things that my parents right now don't know that I'm going through.
Sure.
And I have this core fundamental pain that I believe is just always hidden and I can't talk much about,
Sure.
Especially to my family, because there's no room. We haven't created the room to talk about things like that.
Hearty, touchy-feely things.
We get to talk to a certain extent, but things that are in the past, it's almost like you're saying, we are here now, leave those things in the past. We don't dwell on them.
Yeah.
But those things are just always there. And your life's experiences can remind you of those things.
Yeah.
You every time you go there, and you can also live your life based on, remember how life's experiences shape people. You see life through your eyes, what has happened to you before. So the once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
The reason there is that says because it's things that always remind you of what was or what had happened to you. So you have those triggers in life.
Yeah.
So going back to that upbringing, I would say it was okay. I think I was relatively happy at home until that point when there were disagreements in the home. Yeah.
Do you remember the day that you guys had to move out of the house with your mom and your sister?
Actually, I don't remember. All I remember is there was a time we had to, because the new house was a few kilometers, maybe 2 or 3. We could walk there just to go and prepare, to clean up. I remember those things, but I know that it was in the middle of my first grade.
Okay.
But I just remember that sort of like a venture for me. Oh, we're going to clean, and it didn't really click that okay, you moving away from your dad, and these are going to be the consequences. You should expect a challenging road ahead. So I don't remember the exact date. I don't even remember how the things were moved to the other. I just remember we were there. We're no longer living in a house. So we were there now in this one-room shack, and that was it. This was our new life.
Yeah.
And we had to then navigate all the difficulties that come with it.
Have you ever had, do you remember having encounters with your dad, during that time when you were staying in the shack?
Funny you should say that, because the last memory that I have, absolutely last memory that I have of my dad, is him. I met him close to a shop, not far from school and not far from our old house. And he gave me that R1. Remember that big R1?
Yeah.
I still remember it, how shiny it was. He gave me that R1. That was the last memory that I have of my dad. I don't even remember his face.
Sure.
I don't remember his voice. And for some reason, I'm kind of glad. I know this might be a bad thing, but it's like I'm kind of glad that maybe I should not remember him.
Yeah.
Because I am very angry, to be honest. I might say, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah.
My dad has passed on, by the way. May his soul rest in peace. Yeah. But I still have this anger.
Yeah.
I can't get away from it. And I feel like perhaps my life could have turned out differently had he been there.
Yeah.
There's so many things I can point to and say, this might have been easier. This could have been a little bit on the softer side had he been there.
Yeah.
And yeah, going back to your question, I don't remember, but things around us moving, I do remember.
So immediately after you guys moved, and because of the one memory that you have of the R1 coin, were you, you guys never had any relation with your father's side of the family or anything like that?
There were people that we were related to, but they didn't stay in the location that we were in. At the time, they were staying somewhere else. But later in life, it happened that they moved closer to the same location where I could walk to their house, right? However, they also sort of kind of divorced me as well, in a sense. The way I saw it is that they never made contact, right? I happened to see them that, they stay there. And they never extended an olive branch nyana to say, you can come, you are one of us, you know? So it kind of happened that they were there and they could just see me and they could say, yeah, we know where your dad is, blah, blah, blah. And they would even say that he was here. Later in life, he was here, he visits. And so he knows where you are and everything. So my question was, why is he not coming to see me? I mean, this is, in my life, someone asked me, why are you not looking for your dad? Actively looking. And I said, am I not the child here? Why am I supposed to be looking for him?
An adult.
And I understand that the pressures of life would force you to look for him.
Yeah.
I cried. There are many days I cried, hoping that he was there.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I never said, I'm going to look for him. In my mind, I said, a person who left me as an adult should be able to come back to me. That was my forever hope, that he would come back. Not that I must look for him. Even as an adult, I'm having my own things. I never looked for him.
Yeah.
I never even tried.
Sure.
Because I felt that if he is the adult, his responsibility is to see his wrongs and then be able to come back to me and perhaps apologize or at least have a conversation to say, I couldn't do this or that, whatever the case may be. Make me understand why you neglected me.
Yeah.
You abandoned me.
Yeah.
Basically to fend for myself.
Sure.
So, but that was the interaction with my dad. And then with family, they didn't care, to be quite honest.
Okay, just to get a clear picture, you are saying that your dad moved away from the town where you guys were staying. But where you were, there were family members of your father's side of the family.
Correct.
And your dad would come to visit those family members and not come and visit you guys.
Exactly.
Sure, that must have been heartbreaking for you to actually know that your dad is in the neighborhood but he's not coming to see you.
I wondered and I asked myself, clearly if he's here, they would be able to tell him that we are seeing your boy around, playing around. I used to loiter a lot. Like the whole township, I was just running around playing, carefree like that. So if they saw me, they would tell him that I was there. Or we saw him running around. And you know where he stays anyway.
Sure.
It's not like you don't know.
Sure.
So I'm pretty sure that he knew where I was.
Sure, yeah. Definitely he knew where you were. But it's obvious that when he divorced your mom, he divorced you guys as well.
Exactly.
So we always speak about how it's important to have a father figure in our lives, you know, because we turn out, I don't know, some type of way better maybe, although it's not always the case. But I want to find out from you that was there a father figure or somebody that you would look up to say, at least there's this person that would give me that guidance as you were staying with your mom and your sister?
So when I was staying with my mom, I think immediately after the divorce, there was no one.
Sure.
I had an uncle. He was also a man of the world, so he was always traveling. I wouldn't see him until I was older. So as a young boy, I think from the age of 6 to 12, I really didn't have a strong father figure. They're just people around us, but they did not resemble that father figure that I needed. People who would sit you down and ask, how is it at school? How is it going at school? You know, I never had that, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I had to grow up very quickly
Sure.
because I was the only boy in the household as well. So no brother who could say, you know, I will fight for you, I will protect you. And Dwana, if you need anything, let me know, you know. Sure. I remember this really broke me. There was a time a boy who was much older than I was bullied me. And I was bullied a lot also because of my height.
Okay.
So he hit me, and he hit me like I was his age.
Sure.
And I told my mom. And my mom, because obviously she cared about me,
Yeah.
she actually tried to fight the guy.
Sure.
That broke me to a point that I felt that I shouldn't have told her.
Sure.
Because now my mother's fighting my own battles. Yes, I am still tiny, I'm still young, but who else was I going to tell?
Yeah.
That's when I realized that, you know what, when I have problems, I will not tell my mom.
Sure.
There was a time where I ran away from home and I didn't tell my mom that there are people who are trying to hit me for whatever reason, and I just ran away to another location where we have relatives, and I didn't tell my mom. And they looked for me, thinking that I was lost.
Yeah.
So, and remember those times we didn't have cell phones where you can just pick up the phone and then you would phone. But yeah, those are the difficulties that one had to deal with.
So how do you then comfort yourself at such a young age when you are now having to shut your mom out because you don't want her fighting your battles for you, embarrassing you even more, or having to have you being bullied even more? How do you then do this life thing?
Look, I had to develop a thick skin. Yeah. I mean, after seeing, that scene, that now I was hoping to find help when I told my mom. But as a result, my mom is being ridiculed. And we are looked as a laughing stock.
Sure.
Because people know that there is no father figure in that house, they felt that they could disrespect us. They could walk all over us. Basically, do whatever they want, especially to me. So when we were playing, I was very assertive, even when growing up. So I had a mouth on me. So I might not be able to fight, but one thing that I trusted was my mouth and my feet. I could run very fast. Sure. So I just told myself that I just needed to develop a thick skin, and I have to fight my own battles. There were certain bullies that I had to overcome, either because I fought back or I ran away very quickly. Sure. So, I think at the end of the day, even though there were times where there were bigger guys that I could not fight, it's either I would run. That's why I had to run away from home so that they wouldn't find me. Sure. And it had to be that or what? There was no one. And I did long. That's why I cried, and I was hoping that one day he would just rock up. But at the same time, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my mom. My mom would attest to the fact that I've never asked her, Mom, where is Dad? Why is he not, I've never.
Yeah.
I understood that these people separated. And at the same time, I felt like one day you'll come or not. But I accepted that. I accepted that was my situation.
Yeah.
And I guess life taught me all those experiences. I don't even remember getting a lesson from somebody, but teachers played a life-changing role as well with the messages that they were able to bestow upon us to say, focus on this, stay away from friends, this and that, I would listen. At least I was a good listener at school. And those things would build inside of me, and I would take them with me and take comfort that, one day I will make it. And yeah, I mean, that was that.
Was there ever a time where you felt like, resenting your mom or blaming your mom to a certain degree, for the family structure being broken because of the bullying that you were facing and the challenges that you were facing? Did you feel like maybe had she tried to make it work, or had she communicated, things were going to be better?
Never, not even once, because I saw what my dad was like from the time that there were disagreements. I saw. It's not that, I saw who the aggressor was, right? I might have not understood certain conversations, but I could see who was wrong, even as a child. I could make a simple example. My dad would come home during the disagreements. He would come home and bring me food. Says, here's your food. But then I was like, I was 6. You're bringing me food, but you're not bringing my sister food. You're not bringing my mother food. You know what I did? I took the food and I gave it to the dog.
Sure.
And I was hungry. So never had I thought that my mom was wrong. I saw that my dad was in the wrong. I just don't know how it became that they were, fighting. I don't know the reason. But the aggression and the violence was always brought by my dad. And I could see that.
Sure. So how does that now affect your relationships with other people as you're growing older? Because from your hardships, one way or the other, it affects and it shapes how you then move.
Yes,
going forward.
And I think that's quite profound for this conversation. For me, the lessons from this entire experience is that there is always, where there is a will, there's a way.
Sure.
There is, you are not always going to be doomed based on the decisions that you make, right? So for me, for some reason, the lesson from the violence that I saw, and I learned that I should not lay a hand on a woman. Sure. That's what I learned. And if there is a woman out there that I might have dated that will come and say, I laid a hand on them, they'll be lying.
Yeah.
So I've learned how to treat a woman. I've got my flaws. I'm not perfect.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to say that all my relationships are perfect. But from that experience, I have learned quite a lot. And you see, I spoke about growing a thick skin. I spoke about growing up at a young age, right? It's almost like I was shaping myself based on things around me. So everything that happened was a lesson. So I learned from it. And at school, I was also told that you must always learn from your lessons. Yeah. You must learn from your past. So you can't do the same thing or do one wrong again. If something has happened, learn from it.
Sure.
And then so that next time you are able to maneuver differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's quite a lot, and I think it's mainly the positive things that would be able to guide others. And I feel that going through that ordeal. I know that there's also people out there that are looking for their fathers, whether you are a sister or a girl or you are a boy. My advice is that I understand that you need a father, but it's not always the case.
Yeah.
I am here today, I'm fatherless. Yes, like I said, my current family, my stepfather, my mother, did the best that they can.
could, yeah.
And I am grateful for that. I am here today because of them. But it's not all doom and gloom because there is no father.
Sure. So, moving from your township back home to the big city, how do you maneuver through it with all the hardships that you've already overcome from home?
The big city is very different. The lifestyle is very different, right? So when you move, you're always thinking, oh, I'm going to the city of lights.
Yeah.
The land of opportunities and resources, but there are also temptations.
Sure.
So you will be tempted, definitely. I was tempted. I made some stupid mistakes, I must agree, and equally some good ones. But I think because I had a thick skin already, coming here was somewhat of a breeze. I learned very quickly and adapted to my environment, the same way I did when I was younger, throughout my situation. So, yeah, I think I was able to adapt. I was able to live with others, even though yes, other things took me out of my path, but not derail me completely, because I'm still here and I think I still have a lot to offer to South Africa, to my family. And I have a daughter, by the way. She's 11. Okay. So, yeah.
You have to be a father now.
I know that it is a must, because I am the lesson. I am the experience. I know how it feels not to have one. So I try by all means, even though my daughter is not with me, but I make sure that I'm there. If she needs me, she can contact me and I will be there.
Yeah. Take me through the day you found out that your father has passed away and what that did to you. Because remember, this is a man that you're still waiting for him to find you. But now he's never ever going to find you because he's late. How was that like?
Yeah. When that phone call came, I don't remember whether somebody was told and they relayed the message to me. I don't remember, but when the news came, I didn't feel anything, to be honest. Almost like, oh, okay, I'll go bury him. It's the first thing I thought. I'll just go bury him.
Yeah.
I'm not holding a grudge per se, but I think that was just a facade and something I just wanted to tell people that I'm okay. Doesn't mean anything. But then when I was alone, that's when it hit me.
Yeah.
As you were saying, that this man that you were waiting for, I think at the time I was grown. I was 28 years old, and I felt like I didn't need him anymore.
Yeah.
So, but still, it hurt. Now it hurts even more because I can't get the answers that I was hoping for. That this man would come at least and say I was in jail, or I couldn't come to you. I tried, or somebody stopped me. Something, to give me some reason that I would accept and say, okay, Dad, it's okay, or whatever the case may be. But then I got more angry that I can't get the answers that I want. And now, how do I find closure? Do you see? That's why I'm saying this is a core pain that will linger in me. It'll just be behind others, and it just gets triggered, right? But to be honest, to answer your question, I tried to put up a strong, appearance. Even when I went to the funeral, I bought a flower and I took it there. For some reason, I didn't even ask questions. I didn't even want to know how. I felt like he was never there anyway, So what difference does it make, actually?
Yeah.
It's almost like a validation, some sort of confirmation that because he was never there, he was gone anyway. So now you know that he's gone. He can't come. You can't cry for him anymore. Wish for him to come and have a relationship. That was the feeling.
Was there at any point that you ever felt like maybe I should have tried to look for this guy after his passing?
Oh, there was a slight feeling of guilt.
Sure.
But it didn't resonate too much. It didn't grow too much because it got suppressed by the anger.
Sure.
But why? Well, again, it goes back to I'm the child, he's the adult.
Yeah.
He should know better, right? And I stuck to that.
Sure.
Question did arise as well from family, from friends, where I could actually relate the story. And they said, but you should have. And I said, no, but why? Again, I punted the fact that I am the child.
Yeah.
Even when I am grown, to him, I am younger, I am the child. Therefore, I still believed that he is supposed to look for me.
Yeah.
And I stuck to that.
Sure. But then looking at where you are right now, tell me about Vincent today regarding his father's absence and passing.
I'm very grateful for everything that I have, and I feel that the universe brought me up, right? All the people around me shaped the person that I am, right? Emotionally, I might be a different person in different settings and scenarios, but I am glad that I was able to go through school, matriculate. Though I did not have funds to go to school, I was able to secure a scholarship and still go to school and study. I would like to say, a successful professional today. I've got a level head. I've got a good mind, and I believe that I still have a lot more to offer. So, yeah, I think I've done well. I'm able to run a business today. So with all the difficulties that I have had in life, I think I've done well for myself. And again, I don't want to take sole credit. That's why I'm saying that the universe brought me up. All the people that know me, you are the ones that shaped who I am, good or bad.
Sure.
And I do have my moments. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but those that see me, they can see that I have made something of myself.
Sure. Okay, let me put it in this way, ne? It took me more than 10 years, maybe 15 plus, to accept my mother's passing, right? The reason why I didn't want to accept her passing is because to me it felt like I'm betraying her. I'm celebrating her passing because she did not want to pass. She wanted to be there for her kids, right? But I was in denial. I held on to that thing of not wanting to say my mother is my late mother. I would still say my mother even 15 years later, right? Until I got to a point where I had to face the reality of that part of my life and let go, right? So in what I'm sharing with you now, I want to understand where you are in terms of how you feel about your dad and what steps you have taken, or if you're not even ready to take any steps whatsoever regarding just the feeling, how you feel about this man. Yeah.
I guess I've never felt the need
Sure.
to take any steps. I felt that emotion or that pain will always be hidden. And I have hid it for so long. Since I was 6. I didn't speak much about it. So why should anything change now? So I've always felt, what's the worst thing it can do, But I do acknowledge that the pain is there.
Sure.
And then there are triggers. And there are moments where I'm sitting alone, I'm thinking, what if he was still alive, Would you say anything to him? Would you, Or rather, what if he would appear and sit next to you? What would you say? What's the first thing you would say? And I can't answer the question because it's almost like I want him to be buried. Excuse the pun. But those emotions, I want them hidden. I want to, to bury them. They should not, come to the fore. But I have also come to a realization that I'm lying to myself. It is something that is emotional. And there are triggers everywhere. They may come out. And when you don't heal completely, you might hurt others around you as a result of that. And to be honest, I haven't thought about getting help. And that's also the other reason, part of the reason why I'm here today, to speak and get it all out.
Sure.
There are times where I think I get it all out.
Sure.
But I don't know if it's the right place. Maybe I just speak loosely and I am not understanding the things that I say and how I say them. Maybe if I see a professional, they can help. But I'm also thinking, will they help?
Yeah.
Because I guess because I've never been in a situation where I needed counseling. I just don't know what that process would look like.
Sure.
But all I can say is that I just want this pain to go away.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it is gone. But
There are
yes,
days
there are
where-
triggers.
Yeah. The one thing that I've found to work for me, right, besides therapy, because I'm a huge fan of therapy, because I'm busy writing a book now. So there are elements of like really excruciating pain, scenarios that I write about, things that I experienced, right? And I didn't realize this until I started like writing a lot because I like to talk. I don't like writing. As I was writing it down, it took me even a week. I was not okay the whole week because as I was writing down all those things, I was living.
Opening up old wounds.
Yes, and I felt like I was living in that moment.
Yeah.
Right? And after writing all of that, I grieved all over again.
Oh.
I cried all over again. But this time it was different because it felt like it's like if it's something that is dead, it's like I'm having an unveiling of it. Right? So the one thing that actually does work, if you're not really a fan of therapy, it's just writing down. Because remember, when you're writing down, you don't filter anything. When you're speaking here, you have to you have to calculate your words. Like, okay, here, I need to omit here, I need to omit this and that. But when you're writing, when it's you and your pen and your paper, there's nobody judging you. It's just you and your pen and your paper. And when you write down everything, the way it happened and how it made you feel during that time, it usually does work. A lot of people would say this and I would no. So for me, I experienced it when I thought I was writing a book. I'm doing the same thing that other people actually do when they write letters. I know that there's a thing of writing letters to somebody to yourself, or maybe you're writing a letter to somebody who has already passed away.
Oh.
And then after writing that letter, you burn it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Maybe you should try that as well because I think that also works. And in terms of your family, are the people your mom, your sister, that you speak openly about how you really felt about this whole thing?
Like I said, it has never happened. There's never been that door that is open to say, Vincent, come through and have this discussion.
Sure.
And I also felt that there was no need to open it.
Okay.
Because, people are also fighting their own demons. And now I am making my issues theirs. I guess now I'm thinking that perhaps I should have spoken about it. But again, being the one who's little, I have those thoughts that, just
older
need
ones.
to respect your elders, right? So let those dogs lie. Deal with the issues in your own way, if you can.
Sure.
You're right. If you don't seek help, you're likely not going to get any.
Yeah.
And this thing, whatever it is going to kill you inside very slowly.
Yeah.
It will devour you. It is important to talk, and there are different techniques also to therapy.
Yeah.
So I will take your advice and see if some of those can work. I am also writing a book.
Sure.
And I've been writing books actually for a while now, but I haven't published anything so far. So at least if I can get into the habit of writing, then I'm pretty sure that I can try that technique and see how it goes.
Okay. Remember initially we were talking about how we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be. Do you feel like to a certain degree, if you can be realistic with yourself, there are things that trigger you to a point where you feel like if this person had done this, or if it was not like this, then it would have turned out better? Do you have those moments where...
Are you asking this in a general sense or in relation to my dad?
No, I'm talking about your challenges in life, like as you're growing older and your encounters in life. Do you find yourself relating your not failures per se, but the things that are happening that are not going your way? Do you ever find yourself relating them to, linking them back to your father?
Yes. Yes, I think. Look, not vividly so. Not each and every scenario, but when I go back, I always like to say that. Maybe let me make a few examples, right?
Sure.
When I was 14, I was playing soccer. I was big on soccer, and I believe I was very good at it. And we won our local league. When we win our local league, we go to the regionals, where now teams from different regions come together for a tournament, for a week-long tournament. And for us to go and play in those tournaments, the league required that each and every boy must have a passport.
Okay.
Because I think they thought that passports were difficult to fake. Because somebody can fake a certificate, right? So I needed a passport in order to join my teammates to the tournament. But at the time, I think it was about 250 rands. My family did not have it.
Sure.
And that's when I cried and wondered if, had my dad been there, would he have tried something? Would he have, I don't know, borrowed, stolen, heistinyana, whatever, zama something, and I'm not saying that my current family didn't try, but I'm just saying, when somebody, when you've got, this is your blood, right? I expected that he would have done more, and also if you don't do more, what do you do to comfort me, right? That's one scenario. When I finished school, it was rough. When you go to a school and beg for registration, literally beg, and somebody judges you and says, the way you are dressed, when you can afford tuition. And at the time, I'm like, had he been there, maybe I wouldn't have been begging. So there are times where I think if he was there, I could have done more. Maybe would have gone to school in America. I don't know, And again, I might be linking this more to the monetary stuff, but being there, being the support, being somebody who's behind you, your number one supporter, I would say do your best. And if you don't succeed, there's alternatives, somebody who would guide you, who would also, comfort you whenever things are not going right.
Yeah.
So I feel like my life would have turned out differently, definitely. Yes, I'm grateful that I was able to turn out the way I have.
Yeah.
But I believe that I could have been something greater, I guess.
Do you feel like the number of dads who are just absent, who just run away, are contributing to this high rate of GBV in our country and how families are just being torn upside down? What is your thought on that?
That subject is, I know that even the government has been trying to deal with the issue of gender-based violence. It is something that is so broad and there are ripple effects in between that either we are failing to understand or we understand, it's just that there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
The issue of gender-based violence, for me, is directly linked to unemployment.
Sure.
It's directly linked to independence.
Sure.
When a woman is independent, you cannot push around. And I know there are those, a few that have been pushed around. And again, self-esteem plays a big role as well.
Sure.
The way I see it is, if you look at the scenarios, and I think even in my own scenario as well, my mom was not working. My mom was studying to be a nurse at the time. And all these things, when all these things happened, they just derailed her. But I felt that she was very brave to be able to move away from that toxic situation. But there are people who are in similar situations as women and they have nothing, right? You've got 2 kids. You come from a family of 10. You're probably living in a 4-room house. And when you start thinking of going back to that house versus living with a monster, your children, you start thinking of your children, they're going to school. It's a good school. Can I sacrifice myself for my kids? And that's what we see happening over and over. A woman going back to an abuser. The main reason in most cases because they are not independent. They are depending on these people and therefore they stay. Sometimes it could be it's a lavish lifestyle. I enjoy it. Yes, I'm being, abused, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah. Some could be I'm raising my kids and I want to see my kids get the best out of this situation that I'm in.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will get better. But the absent fathers, in terms of them contributing, is because of the effects that their absence have on the boy child.
Sure.
The boy child does not have guidance. The boy child does not have direction. And therefore, what do? They like me, I had to grow up fast, but I didn't focus and dwell on the negative things. Some may be unlucky and they meet the gangs. They meet people out there that don't have the good intentions. They start using them, because you don't have another ear. You don't have another person saying this is wrong. You now follow whatever you find out there. It could have been me.
Sure.
But it starts from there. And these boy children get taught the wrong things because in their families, there are no father figures.
Sure, yeah. It's a serious pandemic on its own. if you were to be really honest with yourself, do you feel like at some point, was there ever a time where you felt like, I'm glad this guy was not in my life? Had he been here, I would not have had 1, 2, and 3.
No. No. I still feel that, I mean, remember, my dad was there until I was 6. We were staying in a proper house, right?
Sure.
I had a room. I had a room of my own. Yes, I shared it with my sister, but if I wanted to, I could also sleep in the dining room when I could sleep alone. So there were options, and I wouldn't starve. I wouldn't go to bed hungry, And I've made examples already of the things that I feel like they could have been better if had he been there. The bullies that bullied me, all those issues, those social ills that could have battered and bruised me growing up, wouldn't have been there because I would have had somebody who was going to stand up for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, guide me, teach me, to become a better man.
Yeah. There is a young Vincent out there who is exactly in the same situation that you were in 10, 15 years ago. What can you say to him?
Look, life is hard. I think it doesn't matter what the situation is, but it's just hard. Nobody said it was going to be easy, right? And depending on one circumstance, I would say to that young boy, and it shouldn't just be a boy, right? I think these issues, people think that when a father is not there, it only affects a boy.
Yes.
But it can equally affect a girl.
Yeah.
So all I can say is, I think speaking to those children is that they must just hold on, right? They must just find a way to maneuver those tides. They must stay the course. Just look to a better future. Stay in school because education is always the key.
Yeah.
You must just stay the course. Your current situation is not your destination.
Sure.
You will prosper, but just stay the course. Right? Anything negative will derail you.
Yeah.
You must just stay on the path and you will succeed.
Yeah. Oh, man, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's going to go a long way. And also, you being able to come and share with us. Vincent, it's not a lot of male figures who want to openly speak about the things that you are speaking about right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really takes a big person to be able to share something like this. Because I think bottling things up on the inside and not being able to share and not being able to let people in on how you feel, that is how monsters are created. But being able to openly speak and say, okay, this is how I feel, and be realistic about your feelings at that moment, that is actually the best gift you can give yourself and your generation and your future generation. You get what I'm saying? We want to say thank you so much to Sense Studios. We are still at the Sense Studios, right? And before we wrap up, because we don't have a lot of time, I want us to talk about your podcast, your platform.
Before we touch on that, you're talking about men not opening up.
Yeah.
And again, it's the stereotype that men should not cry.
Yeah.
Men should not be weak because crying is weak, is for the weak. You should not share, what you're going through. Sometimes you might be in pain. Sometimes you might even have a physical wound and you don't tell people. And it hurts you and it ends up killing you. But all I can say to my fellow brothers out there is that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to seem weak. You know that you are not weak.
Yeah.
But just be vulnerable so that you can heal.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to heal. And I'm hoping that the Not In My Name movement will not just be words thrown around, and there'll actually be action.
Yeah.
Hoping that more people would come out to the fore and speak about what troubles them and speak about what what defeats them. Speak about everything and everything, right?
Yeah.
With regards to the podcast, so I've been mulling over an idea brought about by the current affairs of South Africa, and I think the world as well. So we have, as society, developed a culture of lying, rumor mongering. I mean, I think we all know this. We just lie about stuff. We get lied to by pastors. We get lied to by traditional healers, politicians. I mean, do you remember Tembisa 10? What happened to that story?
Sure.
Because of a picture of a big belly,
Yeah.
we were all scammed, right? I mean, do you remember COVID? We were told that 5G technology brought us COVID, and antennas were burned as a result of that because of rumor mongering.
Yeah.
People just falsifying stuff. Today, people are falsifying their qualifications. We've just become a society of liars. So I started a channel called Citizen Opinion Network, hoping that we can educate each other, we can empower each other as a society to say, let us bring views and opinions that have been well thought of, that can be substantiated. People talk about receipts. I'm not talking about receipts from the Pep store, but
as in proof.
Proof. All I'm saying is, if Madam Speaker, if you're going to say XYZ said 1, 2, 3 about me, I ask XYZ, not just to believe you, but if you're lying to me.
Sure.
But as society, we just listen to voice notes that are shared on social media. Social media has there's an information overload.
Yeah.
We just need to learn how to filter this information, how to corroborate, how to find proof. Is this real or not? Don't just believe things, because people end up getting hurt. Our country was looted because of rumors.
Yeah.
So, if people are interested in following my channel on YouTube, it's Citizen Opinion Network, as well as TikTok at Citizen Opinion Network.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. I think at least, we're getting there. We're getting there because I'm really, really, I'm a big fan of facts.
Yes.
So at least if people are creating channels where people are going to say things which are factual, it's gonna give us hope, because it's really hard out there. Like you're saying, we are still waiting for the 10 babies, that where this woman in Tembisa was pregnant for so many months. Even today, they're not yet born. You understand? And we are so easy, and we are so gullible. It's simple and easy for us to believe anything whatsoever. But the one thing that I can't, I'm trying to push it back, but I don't want to do it because I would be deceiving the people and I would be failing the people. Haven't you ever thought of opening maybe a platform where you can say, brothers, I'm creating that safe space for us to be vulnerable? Because one person speaking, I know that a lot of, there's going to be some people who are going to listen to this and it's going to, touch some parts of their hearts. But is this enough? Or I want to challenge you actually
I think
to do more.
It sounds to me like you are challenging yourself here.
Okay.
To be quite honest, that you are actually bringing something that I feel would definitely work. You're the work that you do. You could tap into exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
That expansion might be required. That how about going into a venture where we both allow men to be vulnerable?
Sure. No, definitely.
And remember, everything that we do as a society, right? We are talking about men here, but there's equally a relationship to women.
Sure.
Men get hurt by women.
Yes.
So if we speak to the men, we must also invite the women and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect opportunity.
I always say that because I'm one person who does a lot of women's conferences, I always say that it's pointless for us to be doing all these conferences, teaching women who are still going to go back to the same men who are abusive towards them. I believe in empowering each other and also crossing, to the other side and saying, okay, we are empowered on this side, on the women's side. You guys are empowered on this side, on the men's side. Can we come together? Can we sit and we have these conversations where we are really not pointing fingers at each other because this gender is this gender is that. But remember, there are some things that, of course, as men, you would want to talk about it as men without us being there, so that by the time we get together, you're like, no, it's fine, it's safe, you can say this, you can do that. And apparently our PR agrees that we should be doing this movement, so we are definitely branching out, reporting live from Send Studios. We appreciate you guys. Ndiwuti and Pastor Bay.
No, that sounds like a challenge, and it's on.
Are you up for it?
I'm definitely up for it.
You guys who are watching this, you are my witnesses. We are definitely on for an empowerment movement for men, just the same way that we're doing this work for women, so that eventually we can come together and become a healed nation, a safe nation, a nation that is just pouring into each other's cups, all right? With that being said, thank you so much for joining in. A big thank you to my guest, Vincent, and also a big shout out to Send Studios and our executive producer, Kanye Ngobese. What's good? Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. God bless you.